I am looking at a monitor on over here on my right hand side, and it looks as if they are just minutes away from President Trump's address at the Conservative Political Action Committee conference, which is taking place this week and weekend. He is the first Republican to speak during his first term at this event since Ronald Reagan, going back to 1981. Reagan, up until that time, very few of Washington's power elite would go there other than, newspaper columnists and the think tank people. Ronald Reagan was the first guy who came along and said, I'm going to give a tip of the hat to these people. They have a lot in common with me. President Trump is on the way, and I was just looking at the picture, and among the crowd, they were scanning the crowd. Among the people in the crowd right now, Lou Dobbs, who is a financial host, but Lou Dobbs has also been a leader in this country in what I would call a movement, and that is the movement to have more stringent borders and to actually challenge those folks who believe we should have open borders. Why do I bring this up? Because it's our top story this morning. Here's what's on the docket, in fact, for today. A few things we're talking about: illegal immigration, border safety, refugees. Those things all, I think, are part of the same story. Then we're also going to be talking about some of the changes Mr. Trump has made when it comes to the shared potties. If you know what we're talking about, he has rescinded an Obama era order to schools around the country to allow boys and girls to pee together in the same bathroom. We'll talk about that a little later in the show. Also, we're talking firearms today, and there have been a couple of big stories related to gun ownership in this country and also to concealed carry. We're going to talk about that in the next hour with Todd Eccles. That's on the way. Bill Colley with you this morning on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. And very glad to have you here as we approach 9 minutes after 8 o'clock, and we're at 21. It was at 18 about half an hour ago, so I guess a 3-degree rise, and still with those big cold wind gusts is considered an improvement. Well, we'll see. It is very treacherous. There was an email in my email file earlier this morning from Idaho State Police that just said, look, if you don't have to go out and drive today, that's the operative. If you don't have to do it, then why would you? I noticed that driving in this morning. I had to stop and buy gas too, just as I'm pulling out of the house. I realized I was low on gas, and you try to keep the tank half filled in these cold stretches. But apparently I just hadn't paid much attention the last couple of days, and so all of a sudden, ding! I had to stop and buy gas at about 5 o'clock this morning, and let me tell you, just putting my hand out and grabbing that hose, the metal part of that hose was cold. A couple of things to mention as we roll along today. Mentioning illegal aliens and refugees and the like. There is a story from KHL TV, which apparently is in Spokane. KHL, is it KHLQ or KHQ? Excuse me, KHQ. My printer here is running out of ink apparently because the Q is so light, I can only see about half of it look like an L. And the headline is this: anti-refugee posters pop up in Spokane. Ooh. Yes, when you hear about this, it'll just it'll curdle your blood. The writer says shocking signs of hate and racism appeared around Monroe and Riverside Avenue between 7 and 8:30 Thursday morning. These have also been apparently popping up in parts of northern Idaho as well. So the writer, who is Peter Maxwell, a reporter at this television station, is already editorializing in the first line: shocking signs of hate and racism. And then, of course, they have a little anecdotal comment here. Ty Dara, a passerby, says he is disgusted with the posters. And this is a quote from the passerby: to post something that has negative connotation or a derogatory connotation, it separates us. Yes, they found the most brilliant liberal on the street, who he said he's upset because a poster said, and this is the hate we're talking about: refugees not welcomed. It didn't say go beat refugees over the head. It didn't say go throw the refugees in a deep lake with a weight tied around their necks. It didn't say we don't like refugees because of the color of their skin and their religious beliefs, and therefore we hate them. In fact, all the sign said was refugees not welcome. And then the reporter goes on to say that the people behind the posters may be from Ohio and get this, might be Nazis. So therefore, it's a hateful sign because they might be Nazis. We don't know, but we'd like you to make that conclusion along with us here in the mainstream media in Spokane. But the sign says refugees not welcome, and they find the first idiot on the street to say, well, it hurts my feelings to look at it, and I don't think anybody else should have their feelings hurt, and therefore I think government should come in and stop people from having their feelings hurt. And if people hurt other people's feelings, they should lose their lives, and then we wouldn't have to deal with people being hurt any longer. Although it might be painful to lose your life, but, they're not liberals, so it's probably a good thing. 12 minutes now after 8 o'clock. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. And as long as we're talking about the Pacific Northwest and those states nearby, this comes from the Idaho State Journal. Idaho residents react to possible deportation of Idaho Falls business owner. Yes, I was sitting around yesterday watching my television after I left work, and I was sitting there thinking all afternoon, I think I need a stellar reaction to a fellow being deported from Idaho Falls. How do I feel? Gee, I wonder what's on ESPN. The Idaho Falls Immigration Office, the writer says, on Tuesday, detained Thomas Capato, a Mexican national and owner of Vasquez Auto, on Elva Avenue in Idaho Falls after he went to the office to file paperwork. Well, what he was doing, he showed up and said, I'm changing my address. Oh, and by the way, I've been deported 2 other times. I keep hopping the fence. Did you know that? Nobody has really gotten into the detail. I did not know this until this morning. I saw a discussion about it on Facebook. This fellow, Thomas Capato, or Tomas is how it would be pronounced, he has already been deported twice. No one's talking about that. So he knowingly keeps coming back here and is here illegally. Twice he's been deported already. Hello? Even you liberals out there have to realize this fellow is really a serial lawbreaker. What's interesting, though, I give this newspaper credit. Shelby Harris, the reporter, went out and talked to people who have either Latino ancestry or were recent immigrants to this country but did it legally. One of those is a fellow who works at a radio station by the name of Kelly Martinez. And he went on to go into some depth about this. And the other fellow they talked to is from Texas. In fact, his family has been in what is Texas now for hundreds of years. And they both say that if people are coming here, they should come here legally. And they go on to say that some of the people coming here aren't very nice. Oh, I'm sorry. Is the mainstream media going to do this en masse now? That's a random act of journalism, as Rush Limbaugh calls it. If this guy really wants to be here, and as I say, he's already jumped the fence twice, well, why don't we sit down with, I don't know how many people he employs at his automobile repair shop. It could be a lot. Maybe if he's got some real business acumen, we should talk to this fellow about how he might become a legalized citizen of this country. That is, go through the normal channels. Because if he can create a business and employ people, that's a good thing. He can employ other people who live here who are Americans. I think that would be a great thing. But why is he just continually jumping the fence and figuring he should be able to stay here? That part's beyond me. It defies all, in my mind, all logic. Meanwhile, yesterday, many of you know, we had the U.S. Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, joined by General Kelley from the Department of Homeland Security. They went to Mexico, and according to media, they had their ears pinned back by the powerful Mexican government. You got a third world narco-terrorist state, and you got the leader of it, who's got an approval rating of about 8%, telling off our Secretary of State and our Homeland Security Secretary. I'm sorry, but we could take them out in a week. Not that we're going to, not that we want to, although if I was living in that part of the world, I'd appreciate being colonized by the United States of America. It would be better than living under the narco-terrorists who currently run that country. Nigel Farage, who's an Englishman and a member of he's the leader of the UKIP party. That's the United Kingdom Independent Party. He's also a member of the European Parliament, although he thinks that organization should be dissolved. He's the fellow who is behind Brexit. We have a lot of liberals on American TV, whether they be comedians on HBO or working at CNN, and they're coming here from England and telling us how we have to live all the time. Well, liberals don't like it that Farage is telling us the same thing. But as long as other Englishmen are chiming in, why not hear from him? And we did. He was appearing on Fox News last night. This is what he had to say about Mexico's efforts to try and tell us how to run the United States.
Well, what right do the Mexicans have to say to the Americans that they can't change their policy? I mean, look, we've had similar problems with our neighbours, the French. But ultimately, if somebody has illegally entered your country, you have every right to send them back to that point. And frankly, there is nothing Mexico can do about it. And they're almost saying that, given that over half the people that cross that border and get stopped come from other countries, and so Mexico is sort of acting as a conduit. I mean, frankly, in saying what he said, he sounds rather like somebody from a rogue state. So I think...
Here's my feeling on this. Take this one. Even without action, even if you were just to take the words of the memo that came out a few days ago, you're sending a message that things are going to be different, and you're going to face them one-on-one to explain things without a filter. You're not going to hear this based on a report or on a rumor. We're going to come and tell you what the deal is. And that this is, Nigel, a departure from what the rules have been over the past several years.
Yeah, this is straight shooting, isn't it? Going straight to the Mexican government, explaining exactly what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. I mean, actually, it's good, honest politics. And I think the Mexicans have to understand, frankly, they have no choice in this.
They have no choice, and they have the weakest hand in the Western Hemisphere, at least North America. Bill Colley with you on Top Story. It's 8:18 on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. And we've got news about this demonstration that supposedly organically just popped out of nowhere in Mexico City while our delegation was there yesterday. You will not be surprised who was actually behind that. We'll share that with you in a few minutes. A lot of George Soros money is being spread around all over the world, not just in the United States. I do want to mention, before we move along in the program today, I've been telling you the last couple of weeks about Western Visions, Inc. This is a company that does high-end renovations for historic and often high-end properties. And they can do this for your home or your business. And they've been doing it in Missoula, Montana for quite some time now, and now have an office set up right here in Twin Falls, Idaho. And I've toured one of the facilities where this is going on in Cassia County. And if you'd like to know more, you've got to visit the website, western-visions.com. They do historic renovation and structural revival to the latest in materials, layouts, electrical, lighting, and design elements, and provide the client with an experience that reflects their lifestyle preferences and personal sense of style. The building I toured in Cassia County is going to be a private lodge, and it's one of the oldest buildings in the county. In fact, one room in the building is the oldest standing room in that county. And I was looking at the walls, which were 5 inches thick, amazing old building. But they will literally come in and they will replace beams, and they can do this. You wouldn't want to try that on your own. Trust me, it could be very dangerous. But they're able to do these things, and they build these beautiful fireplaces, modern fireplaces that would just make you proud to sit in front of those, sit down, relax, have a nice cup of hot tea in the evening. We've got more on the way. Bill Colley with you on Top Story. It's 19 right now at 20 minutes after 8. I got a message from someone who was tuning in, and they'd like to know more about Western Visions, Inc. And just quickly, they needed the website again. It's western-visions.com. And you can see some of the handiwork there, too, if you try that out. I also have a message from one of my coworkers. Now, he lives a couple of blocks away from us, but he's going to be work he's going to be work for late today. That's it. No, he's going to be late for work because he's got to shovel out. A lot of drifting at his house, and then he says he's going to attempt to walk in. Well, a good scarf, that'll help out. Scarf and a knit cap, and he can walk in. He'll be here. It's a 15-minute walk probably at tops in this weather. Speaking of the weather, if you are out driving, you've noticed it's not very nice, and it's not going to melt anytime soon. We're looking at a low tonight in 11 degrees. Forecast for Twin Falls, colder perhaps where you are. And then this pattern's going to stay with us through the middle of next week, and then a very gradual warm-up as we head into that first week of March. It'll come in not like a lion or a lamb. It'll come in, I don't know, somewhere in between there, like a nasty alley cat. Yeah, that'll be it. But because a lot of you are also firing the furnace back up, You may also be noticing that it's having a few hiccups. We're at that part of the year now where it's gone through a lot of use. If that's your trouble, you need to call the pros at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Ramsey Heating and Electric, the pros there will come out and get the job done right, and they'll get it done right the first time. Problem-free, cozy winters are found at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The telephone number is 678-0459. That's 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they sell warm winters and cool summers. It's at, I'm going to call it 825, and we're at, well, the temperature, my gauge here, just moved 4 degrees. It dropped down to 18 and then quickly jumped back up to 22. I'll tell you, it is subject, I think, to this wind chill factor that we get around here. I guess it's got a sensor in there or something that almost like it's a human. Nah, can't be. Talking about this situation with refugees and illegal aliens. The demonstrators who showed up in Mexico City last night or yesterday while Tillerson and General Kelley were there, the demonstrators were a rent-a mob paid for by Organizing for Action, and that is President Barack Obama's former campaign appendage. And they weren't Mexicans. They were Democrats who just happened to have jobs in Mexico City or were there on business and were organized and then sent out to make it look like Mexicans had this. The other day I heard a reporter in the mainstream media say that these demonstrators at congressional town hall meetings weren't actually being paid by the Democrats or George Soros. And the reporter's rationale was, I asked them and they said no. What do you... Yeah, here's my pay stub from George Soros. You could take a picture of it and put it on television. Yeah. They're not going to tell you that. And because they simply... Somebody said, no, we're not here. We weren't organized by any nefarious organization. So therefore, that's proof. Golly gee, our fellow travelers just got up off the couch. Democrats won't do anything unless you give them a check. I mean, that's how they win elections. They, tell everybody you can get a free lunch. Appearing last night on television, Mike McCall was on Hannity's program, hosted by the lovely Kimberly Guilfoyle. If she invited me on that program, I would have walked across the country to do it just to meet her. Mike McCall is a congressman from Texas. He is not a terribly conservative Republican, but when it comes to this border issue, it's a big one for Mike McCall and his constituents.
I've said consistently that physical barriers are necessary. I think we're going to see more fencing down there. I think these levees, when you look at the levees, they are made out of concrete, and they do provide a wall, a physical concrete wall in the Rio Grande Valley. But I think you have to have a smart border, too, that not only relies on physical barriers, but also technology. Kimberly, it's very important to have aviation assets, sensor surveillance, so we have 100% visibility to see from the sky what's happening on the ground, and the sensor cameras to pick up what's happening as well.
Yeah, you have to utilize all the tools that necessary to be able to effectuate that safety and national security. Just real quick, what are you looking for to see in the talks between Mexico and our new Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson?
I think to have a concerted effort to secure our southern border and, quite frankly, Mexico's southern border. They have a border problem on their own, and I think working together with Mexico to get this thing done is very important. I think Rex Tillerson's a talented guy who I think can accomplish that. I've talked to the Mexican ambassador myself, and he wants to work with us to get that security, and I think it's possible.
I just was listening to that, and I noticed that Donald Trump is speaking. He is now speaking at the Conservative Political Action Committee. Maybe we can join a few minutes of that in the next half hour. We're coming near the break right now. I mentioned it for that reason. He's talking about fake news once again. The media is going to just sit around and gnash their teeth and scream and yell, and Donald's being mean to me again. I never did anything to him. Well, okay, maybe just a little bit. I gave a lot of campaign cash to Hillary Clinton. I don't know why he's so mean. We have a short break, as I say, for a check of a couple of things. Some fine messages from some fine sponsors. 19 right now. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. If you're hearing us this morning, welcome to the program. If you're struggling, let me help you out a little bit. I've been recommending Dr. Christine Pickup, a doctor of audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology in Rupert. Now, there are many choices available for your hearing health. The question is, why would, and some of you might be driving a long distance going out to Rupert from perhaps here in Twin Falls, why would you choose Mount Harrison Audiology? Experience. Dr. Pickup is a certified audiologist with 17 years serving the hearing impaired of all ages. True diagnostic testing will help you know what the causes of your hearing loss are, and she'll lead you to the best treatment options available. Trust your hearing to a certified audiologist. You can telephone Mount Harrison Audiology for your appointment today. The number 208 312 0957. That's 208 312 0957.